the game warden.
Very good. All right, so the game warden does have the power to arrest?
Yes, Brother B. They can arrest, and they have the powers to search any shop, any shed, any area. They don't have the power to search the house without a warrant, but they have the power to search any shed. So let us say they reach upon some shed in state land where you are, they have the power to search. And they also have the power to ask you for your name and address. And if you fail to give the name and address or your place of abode, you can be arrested and charged.
All right. Let's say that the game warden, let's say I go to the court, I ain't crossing the road, are cooking in the, and they smell, they go about passing and smell a pot.
But just
not just beat for this, but I just begin this point. Let's say that, all right, okay, so you're given time to get rid of your wild meat. This is what I'm
yes, Brother B.
Let's say that, well, harvest, and let's put that, we're not outside of COVID, and they are visiting and they're there, and somehow somebody here that they have wild meat serving in the back, by the back door of the kitchen, because that's already serving. And he discovers that, look, there's wild meat serving here. What can he do?
Well, Brother B, once it is outside of the hunting season, I know that after the hunting season, there's a little window that they give you to get rid of the meat.
Once that window is passed?
Once that window is passed, you can be charged for possession of the wild meat.
Even though he eat the wild meat, suck the bone, spit it out in your yard, and still turn around and charge your sergeant, come on.
Well, Brother B, it is up to him if he wants to go to your place and eat it, right? But if he knows very well that there is something that you're committing an offense, right? And it is his right that he has the power to seize and arrest you for the items.
Very good. All right. So what do you you know?
There is also, Brother B, also, you know, there are persons who would have hunting dogs.
Good.
Right, and you can apply. They will give you special conditions because you know if you have a hunting dog, you will have, because the season is closed, you will have to have the dog to go hunt, exercise. So there are special provisions for a hunting dog, right? You make an application, and they will approve the application and allow you to have the dog to hunt. But the dog, when the dog is hunting, I think I saw where the hunting, they could only pursue agouti and deer. When they give you when you make the application, that is the only.
That's the license you got to allow a dog to hunt.
That allow the dog to hunt.
Right. If you have a neighbor with hunting dogs, you know they have a way that is back, and they are very noisy and disturbs the peace, the neighborhood. However, this fella in Quab, he's just malicious with these dogs. What does the neighbor? What rights do they have?
Well, Brother B, you have some that you have nuisance, right? So if you know that you have a hunting dog, I mean, you wouldn't want to have your hunting dog in an area where it is a housing development. You would want to have your dog in areas where, I'm not saying where you alone live, but you know the dogs make a lot of noise, right? So the person could be, the police could speak to the person because they could be creating a nuisance with those dogs, right? So the person, as I said, the police could speak with them and make some, but not all the time, Brother B, that the police intervention will be charging. Right? There are many times that yes, we can sit and talk and work out situation.
Very good. And some neighbors, the dog don't, well, in the States, you know, you have to walk with scoop and poop. Poop and scoop.
And also,
you pick up with your plastic bag. Right. Let's say in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have that. A neighbor dog get out the kennel. The first thing you run to by the neighbor and poop. The neighbor tired, complain, and there's a dispute. In fact, they don't talk as a result.
Well, as I said, you can have conversation. The police can have even, or some person in the neighborhood who is upstanding, who the neighbors would listen to, because not all the time you should call the police. There are times that you can sit and have some reasonable conversations, right, Brother B? And those are not offenses. Those are just some inconvenience on person, right?
All right, Sergeant. Well, as we get ready to close, today's school has reopened for SEA students.
Yes, Brother B. So you know there is additional traffic, and there's also, as I said, the children will be out. So some persons will not be at home. Less persons at home. So we are asking persons to be vigilant. Remember, the children are out there. And as we said at Brother B, don't forget that you cannot be in gatherings more than 25 persons, right? But I know in school there's exception because it is school.
And children.
And children.
Yes.
Right, Brother
good.
B?
All right, all right. All right, Sergeant. And let me just ask though, quickly. Yesterday I'm at the beach. I had my first, what do you call it? Ski.
Ski.
Thing, yeah.
Yes.
The motorbike on the sea. Yeah.
Yes, the
but,
ski.
But, however, the beaches are overcrowded, Sergeant. And I'm coming to a jet ski, yeah.
Jet ski, yes, I forgot.
Yeah, girl, I enjoy myself and thing. I want to do it more. Right. But anyway, and so...
but last week, we the police would have to spoken to persons who were on the beach, who, after the beach, they had music boxes on top of their vehicles, emitting loud music, and they were not going home, and they were gathering. Right by in that area, Bagos Bar, Milford Road. So persons would have to be sent home, and we continuously speak to persons about the gathering.
Okay, because
so after you bathe in the sea, bathe and leave.
Bathe and leave. Oh,
yes.
All right. Well, I bathe and I enjoy myself and thing. And all they don't know, hey, Tobago, all they enjoy Tobago during this time in the Sergeant. You know, we just take the beach and
yes,
take for
we
granted.
do. And since that they said you couldn't go to the beach.
Yeah, no,
persons who wasn't even going to the beach is now going to the beach.
I tell you, it's really nice. All right, Sarge, we want to thank you very much.
Yes, but I will continue next week because I would have left out some things because my time is very short.
Yes.
However, I ask persons, as I said, Brother B, to be vigilant out there. Look out for your neighbor, right? As I said, because some people would not be at home, and if you see anything, say something. You may find that what you see is something small, but say something. As I always say, Max and I said that he needs the money, the police needs the information.
All right, Sarge, and of course, thank you. All the best. All the best to you. And when I catch me wild meat, nobody ain't going. No. All right, good. We're going for the break. When we come back, the Prime Minister should be on set. See you after this break.
Renting a vehicle? Come to Save-A-Lot. We have a wide variety of fuel-efficient cars and SUVs at the most affordable prices. Save-A-Lot has been providing Trinidad and Tobago with reliable rentals to meet a variety of transportation needs. From one-day rentals to short-term leasing, let Save-A-Lot get you behind the wheel of a vehicle quickly and affordably, saving you time and money.
Visit the new and improved Belfonds Hardware Limited, number 17 Canby, Mount Pleasant. Spacious showroom for your convenience. All hardware items including blocks, steel, paint, toilet sets, power tools, lumber, and everything plumbing and electrical. Open Sunday to Friday. 631-0911.
When you need electronics, find what you want quickly at Ted Electronics. We have tons of brand name items in smartphones, tablets, LCD and smart TVs, headphones, and speakers. For the best in electronics, check Ted. Amazing service and the lowest prices guaranteed. Located upstairs Moosehead Plaza, Bethany Road, Tobago. Ted Electronics, your ideal choice for electronics.
In these unsure financial times, protection of your hard-earned financial assets is a priority. We at MI4 Security Cash and Transit Service are sure to grant you peace of mind. Fully insured services. Call us today at 660-7723 or 635-2144.
Renting a vehicle? Come to Save-A-Lot.
Look out for COVID-19 related scams. Be alert. Fraudsters are using the fear of economic conditions related to COVID-19 to target victims by posing as reputable agencies. Be on the alert. Ask questions. Be aware. Never share your personal information via phone, text, email, or social media. Always contact the agencies directly to verify information.
Don't lose your hard-earned money. Think before you invest. Beat investment fraud.
Pro Computers provides you with the best in domestic and business technology. Get the latest in laptops, PC tablets, iPads. Customize your computer. Even get same-day PC repairs. Get a wide range of multimedia services and rentals to facilitate lectures, business seminars, and presentations. Come in to Pro Computers today, located TLH Building, Scarborough.
All right, welcome back, and our guest is on set, the Right Honorable Dr. Christopher Rowley. Good morning, sir. Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Tobago and Tobago Rise and Shine on Tobago Channel 5.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to you. I like the tie, I like the haircut.
Yeah, but I vex, you know. When we had the arrangement for this, I said, do not wear anything blue. You wear a red P&M brand. Why did you do that, sir?
That is the only thing I wear these days.
The only thing you wear?
Yeah.
That's the only clothes you wear?
Red P&M shirt, that's all. I mean, I'm sure you don't want me to be back on this set.
Okay. So wait, so from last night, you came straight to the studio?
No. I have a lot of shirts. I just change shirt.
Okay. Well,
last night I had on one. The day before I change them like every few hours.
Okay. All right, Prime Minister, let's get straight into it. And let's deal, and we're starting with Tobago's issues. In this campaign, my co-host on the other program that I do on radio, Cup of Tea, which we're going to go into afterwards. And we spoke about the lack of issues in this campaign. However, in Tobago last night, we are looking out for the issues that are confronting Tobago. Let's start with the land title issue, first and foremost.
I don't understand what you mean. This campaign has so many issues. I mean, like
real issues concerning Tobago. Let's deal with that.
Okay,
Tobago.
But even so.
Very good. Let's go. The last time we had Alwari, the Attorney General, and we spoke about the land title issue. Let's deal with that. Now, you would know very well that Tobago's land issues, not that the lands don't have deeds. However, the name of or the deed is in the name of the great-grandparents who died 100 years ago. The relatives of these landowners would occupy a piece of land that they give them. They say, you build here, John, you build there, and so on. Nobody, however, has individual deeds for these house plots in some cases. What is the government intending to do to treat with that?
Well, that is what the new law is about, that you will have an adjudication process where such persons would make their case, and in the absence of objections or in the presence of proof and whatever, that you will now for the first time accept and put boundaries and ownership to the person who is laying claim to it. So you have to have a law to do that.
Right.
And that law is what we're about. That's what's done.
Very good.
And therefore you will have to have a process now. Understand something? You can't just say, okay, do that. There has to be a process that moves it from the great-great-grandfather. And that process has to be in law. And once it is done, right, it is then now a new beginning that I am now the owner of this parcel, okay, and this is mine. Right. And the law protects you from there on in going forward with that title. That's what we've done. Let's deal with the law. But even with the law being passed and it's being operated, there's a process for you as the individual to move from grandpa land that I'm on with my house to the process being concluded in law. And the state provides the wherewithal for you to go through the steps of the process to end up with you having your title. Very good.
All right, let's deal with the reality of it. The realities of it is that when you go to an attorney, they say you have to administrate for the 20 acres or 40 acres. What is the government doing to ease that burden? Half of the relatives of these people do not have the monies to administrate. Tell us what is in place to ease that burden and to give each individual the piece of deed or the deed that they could own this house part.
I don't know that we can abandon that process of administration, because basically what the administration process is determining who is the correct inheritor. And that process is supervised by law. What the administration process is one where there's a supervision. Brother B, just for a minute, just assume that that process is not in place. And there's the deceased, and he has 4 or 5 children, and then they all begin, without the protection of a process in law, to lay claim to their father or their mother or their aunt property. Total confusion. So the process, I don't know we can eliminate that process. What we have put in place is a situation where there is dispute as to whether in fact the piece that you are on, right, is a piece that you should have. Right? That's almost a parallel process, because administration is still going to go on.
Okay.
It's still going on.
Right. Who's the cost? Who's paying the cost for that?
Well, the government is not going to pay the cost of that for you. You have to find a lawyer who charges you a reasonable fee, right? And there are reasonable fees for these things. You're moving into property. The lawyer will charge for his or her service. So I can't tell you that the government is going to provide you with a service where you can have the administration process. And basically, it's a process that has to be in place to allow the smooth transition of ownership and inheritance to take place. After, in fact, sometimes you have a will, sometimes you have no will. A person dies intestate. Basically, what you have there is the potential for mass confusion and violence.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So the process through the court is a step-by-step process, and most times it goes relatively smoothly. And I don't know that the cost is exorbitant unless there is confusion, because even with the law in place, some people do not cooperate with the law and the process, and there are some claims that go on and on and on and on, and therefore the cost is there. But where there's no generated ongoing confusion, the administration is not really an expensive process. What it is, you need the process to be quickened. That is where the problem was. It was a kind of a slow process. What the new law is going to do is to quicken the process. Right? And again, even with those 2 sets of laws in place, individuals have to put themselves in place to use the law.
Good. All right. So it's out there. All right. And there's this talk of this digital that is online. I heard Shamfa Kojo spoke about it last night. And of course, Alwari, the Attorney General, that is in place presently. So it speeds up the process.
Oh, yeah. What we've done, I don't know if you've ever gone into a government department that deals with hundreds of thousands of issues. In this case, that land registry is hundreds of thousands of items, called files, and in paper, some dog-eared 10 pounds on top of 20 pounds here. And to get to read a page, you have to lift up and move and push files and find it in the file, and then you hear all this story. The file can't be found. The file is lost. Give me 3 days to find the file. When you find the file, somebody tear out the page. All of that creates serious harm and frustration for the public. What digitization does, it stores it in a computer. You input all of that information in a computer. And then the minute you've done that, at the click of a button on the computer, you can go to any file in a flash, find the page in a flash, a fraction of a minute. You find, in seconds, you find the file, and then you can do so much more. Tens of hundreds of times faster. What the AG office has done, we've paid some good money, we've got good technical help, and we've put all those paper files, those hundreds of thousands of pounds of paper files, on computer, and now you can manipulate them, access them by fingertips. Another thing too, those files are important because your ownership of land or your issues are on a piece of paper, on a page. It has not been uncommon that people have gone there with the collusion of staff members, tear out pages, do corrupt things, and you go and you find that your land, the land registry has been compromised in some way. What the digitization does, it allows you to record where the file is at any point in time, very important, so you can find it in a flash, who accessed it by name, time, and what they did. So it protects the system and it protects the owner. That's a fantastic leap forward. So it becomes very, very difficult, virtually impossible now. Right? To do those improper things and not be known. So security has improved.
All right, let's go to, and staying with lands, the Crown Point Airport land issue. Obviously, the removal of the citizens to this new piece of real estate that is accommodating two pieces, one for business owners and one for the regular citizenry. There is still discontent, Prime Minister, on this whole issue of the accommodation that is available, the payment for the land. Some still are arguing land for land. Where are we with that in terms of settling the citizens, making sure that they are comfortable? There was a protest about a couple, maybe 2 weeks ago, that they're still not happy with the arrangement.
Well, I don't know what will make some people happy, Brother B. Some people will never be happy for one reason or the other. What I know has happened is that there's a requirement for Tobago to have a new terminal building. We've done proper assessment, proper studies by the technical people, and they've identified the area where the building should go. In that area, there are houses. The next thing is that those people, because it's for a public purpose, those people are required to be removed from where they are to another place. Some people will be unhappy because they have to be removed because they love where they are, right next to the airport. They hear the planes land from people like that. I don't know why, but so they have to be removed. Where do you put them? You look for the next best place to put them. And I could tell you, the two pieces of land that the THA would have found to put them at two excellent locations. One down there at Cove and the other at Chauvin. They're putting in the best infrastructure. Everything is being put in, roads, drains, everything. And then, of course, these people will have the wherewithal to build on good lands. There'll be a bit of a transition period where there's some dislocations, some inconvenience, but it's a temporary inconvenience for the improvement of Tobago. So I don't know what the story is. It's not the first time that people have been relocated. And we had this problem before, you know. When we were building the Claude Noel Highway, there were some people in Smithfield who made a whole carrying on, obstruct the highway, cost us $44 million more in paying the contractor. Eventually they had to move, and the Claude Noel Highway has been built, and nobody has remembered that people have gone somewhere, and some of them are much better off now than where they were, right? And that is how the relocation process goes. Now, you can do it by cooperating with the state, who is looking after the wider public interest, or you can try to fight the state, and the state would have to fight on the grounds that it is for a public purpose and the law permits it. So I don't know what the potential fight is about, except that an election is coming and some people feel that they could embarrass the government in the general election or the THA election, but all that is by the way.
But as a Prime Minister, do you think that they need comforting words? If a ship is sinking, hold on, and the captain does not speak to the public, you probably watched the movie Titanic, when the captain addressed the public, there was some calm. Do you think that you need to make an intervention as Prime Minister to say it to the public, because they're listening? Any kind words that could appease their frustration, the stress that they're going through, they alone know what they're going through. Some are saying they're not moving. What would you want to say to them at this point?
I would simply say that this is a process that, if it's affecting you now, it's temporary. The government is, and I've spoken to this, you see the captain has not spoken, I've spoken to this many times. Nobody is going to be oppressed or suppressed. You will get exactly, on very favorable terms, what you're entitled to. We'll get it to you as quickly as we can, and we'll give you all the assistance. And I don't want to speak for the THA, because the THA has a role in the matter too, and the THA is doing the preparation of the lands and so on to give you a new location. And of course, for those who say they're not moving, for whatever reason, once the government meets its liability to the affected person, if people take that position that they are not going to move, then the government is going to have to enforce the law. And I hope it doesn't come to that. I would rather see the cooperation. I acknowledge the dislocation and the inconvenience, but it is not superhuman and it's not permanent. It's only for a little while, and I'm sure at the end of the day, those people, like every other Tobagonian, their children and their future would have been improved. And all we're asking for is some reason, and we are building infrastructure for the betterment of Tobago. And let's just cooperate with it.
Very good. All right, we thank you for that, and we go for a break. When we come back, we deal with yet another contentious issue that has to do with the Tobago Self-Government Bill. See you after the break.
We building bridges to space space and time, filling the gaps in our hearts and our minds with love. I need you in my life, yeah. Together, hey, hey, and together we'll arrive. Together forever and ever as one.
At CFY Convenience Store, we stock a range of medical supplies, cosmetics, toiletries, gift items, stationery, and phone cards. Come check us out. We're now open and ready to serve you. We're located at Vending Booth 4, Scarborough General Hospital, Signal Hill. We are open from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Contact us at 239-3123 or on Facebook at CFY Tobago. CFY, convenient for you.
Look out for COVID-19 related scams. Be alert. Fraudsters are using the fear of economic conditions related to COVID-19 to target victims by posing as reputable agencies. Be on the alert. Ask questions. Be aware. Never share your personal information via phone, text, email, or social media. Always contact the agencies directly to verify information.
Don't lose your hard-earned money. Think before you invest. Beat investment fraud.
Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ, our soon and coming King. I am Minister Cassandra Powder, here to encourage you to dare to be different. Think the unthinkable, for we serve a God that has no limits, no boundaries. It's time to elevate.
High Five with Christo Gift Senior Counsel, discussing real issues, political decisions, and economic trends affecting Tobago. High Five Mondays at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Channel 5.
All right, welcome back. And of course, on the set of Rise and Shine is the Honorable Dr. Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So we dealt with one issue treating with land issues in Tobago, and of course we brought in the Crown Point matter, the Crown Point Airport, and of course that was spoken to as well. Let's go, Prime Minister, to the self-government matter, the self-governance bill. Yes, last night on your platform you spoke about where it is. It's before a joint select committee. You spoke about it the last time, and you outlined some issues last night. Very interesting. Most importantly was the definition issue. You spoke that there is that also, and that needs treating, which is one of the critical issues. Let's talk defining Tobago. Obviously, Shell is out there exploring our natural gas, and then we could bring in the whole question of the development part of what Tobago benefits, and let's talk about that. Defining Tobago, sir, what is that? Where are we with that?
Insofar as there's the need to separate the administrations, and you would have heard me also raise a few other issues which are attracting the attention of the parliamentary committee that is looking at it. Because as you talk about internal self-government glibly, if you follow through on that as an action to come, a number of things arise. One of it is administrative separation. The other one is fiscal arrangements, meaning how you manage money, who gets what, who can charge what, who gets the benefit of resources within a certain area, and that's where the boundary comes in. If Tobago is going to be identified in the new arrangement, where does Tobago begin and where does Tobago end? Where does this authority begin and end? Right now, you know, the seashore, make sure that the land part of Tobago is very visible. Now, if you go offshore between Trinidad and Tobago, and the adjudication by Tobago and the receipt by Tobago of certain benefits as to what is in Tobago, and you want that benefit to come from not only on land but at sea, and that's where you need to determine. Right. And that's where this legal adjudication based on precedent and by agreement between Trinidad and Tobago, where Tobago's boundary be. It could be a simple thing as put the line in the middle between both islands, and Tobago's jurisdiction would begin here and end there, and Trinidad and so on. And that then is what you have to agree on. And then
who is to agree on that?
The Parliament.
Right.
This is the Parliament.
Does it require
that's the point I was making last night.
Does it require that aspect of it?
Everything that we are going to change, right, would require the Parliament, because remember, there are existing laws. And if you want something else other than, it takes a law to change a law.
Good.
It takes a cabinet note to change a cabinet note. Right. If there's a cabinet note, if there's a cabinet note saying that you're never going to use blue in here, until another cabinet note comes up and be approved to change blue to another color, that remains. It's the same thing with a law. If there's an existing law and you don't like how the law is operating or what it applies to, it will take another law to change an existing law. Or if there's no law, you create a new law. Right. In this case, there are existing laws. Because remember, we have the THA Act of 1980. And then you have the new THA arrangements of 1987, right? Nice. Now we're talking about another improvement in the law, whenever it happens, and it is that is being worked on now. So when we come to an agreement, agreed by the Parliament, it is now out of the hands of columnists and commentators in Tobago and politicians in Tobago who are not in the Parliament. The matter has advanced all the way from meetings in Charlottesville and Mason Hall and Canaan in community centers. It has advanced to the lawyer's office. They have drafted legal clauses of what the people said. It was discussed. Is this what you really said? Is it what you really want? But then you still have areas where there are legal things to be worked out. It has gone to the cabinet. The cabinet has passed it on to the Parliament. Nothing else is
then
of
to the
interest
Joint
now.
Select Committee.
Then yes, all those things that I mentioned last night, those issues, including the one you just mentioned, which is the boundary, what is really Tobago's perimeter, that is before the Parliament. It is the authority of the Parliament, by agreement of the parliamentarians, that change will be made. The same way the THA Act came into being, there was no THA Act. Remember Winston Murray in the Parliament with his Tobago flag and arguing for Tobago, and eventually the parliamentarians in the Parliament agreed that something, a new administration for Tobago, would be passed into law. And that happened in 1980. Once that law was passed, what did we have? We had elections in 1980. You elected people into a new body, right? And so for 40 years, that body has been operating in Tobago. Right? And, you know, that law allows people in Tobago to say, don't interfere with this, that is my responsibility. Don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Yes, but I guess, you know, as you change the law, you move it forward. There's one huge change that has to be made, and that change requires more parliamentary votes than some of the changes we've made before. That change is in the existing law in the Constitution. It says that a minister of government is a minister of government for Trinidad and Tobago. Right. So even though you have the THA Act giving autonomy to Tobago for certain things, there's an overriding power in the Constitution that gives a minister of government authority for Tobago. In that act, in that law, it says that things that fall under the minister could be discharged by the THA, but the minister has an oversight for the country, because the minister under the Constitution has responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago, but he allows the THA to carry out some of those responsibilities. For example, in Tobago, you have a Secretary for Education, Secretary for Health, but there's a Minister of Health for Trinidad and Tobago. Look, we are in COVID now. The minister has responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago, but in Tobago, because there's a THA Act and a THA Secretary of Health, it is required that the Minister of Health, who has the responsibility for the whole country, has responsibility for Tobago. Some people are saying that you need a greater separation, and Tobago should have more authority and not be so much under that constitution that the minister has. Now, what that means has to be worked out. Because if you make it completely separate, then what is it? Is it that Tobago would have said, all right, we happy to have a minister, or Secretary for Health here, and we have nothing to do with the Minister of Health in Trinidad. And then, of course, you find yourself needing certain things that you don't have, which would have come from the larger pool of the nation. And, of course, because of the logistics of operating, Tobago gets the best of both worlds right now, you know, because you get the autonomy under the THA Act. No other part of the country has that, right? And you also get access to the central government. So if you're going to change it, let us determine what you're changing it to.
All right, let me ask you straight up. You have, in your tenure, have made some very unpopular decisions that worked well for the country.
Like,
which one? Petrotrin. You shut down Petrotrin. You rang the NASDAQ bell. You did some things.
The NASDAQ bell is unpopular?
No. I'm just getting to what you would have done historically as Prime Minister. Do you see Tobago getting its self-governance under your tenure? Thereby adding that to your list of things that you would have done as Prime Minister, because there's a saying in Tobago that you have not done anything for Tobago. I want you to fix that narrative if it needs fixing from your perspective.
Let me just respond to those who say I have done nothing for Tobago. Let me just remind such persons. My first outing in politics was here in Tobago. I ran for election in Tobago West, right? And that, I suspect, that same voice that will say I've done nothing for Tobago voted for James O'Geese. Remember that? Okay? Right. So my first offering in politics was to run in Tobago. I lost. I must say it was the best campaign I've ever run. I've enjoyed it the most, and I learned a lot from it. And then later on in life, I got into national politics successfully. But my first outing in Tobago was unsuccessful. So I'm not surprised that somebody here would say that I've done nothing for Tobago. But really, the people of Diego Martin West have allowed the people of Tobago to do what they didn't do for themselves, which is to elect me to represent them. However, it would be quite wrong and quite incorrect for anybody in Tobago to talk about me not doing anything for Tobago, because I've done more for Tobago than even I myself had considered possible, because I became Prime Minister of the country. I became Prime Minister of this country. I am Prime Minister of this country. And under that office, I have taken personal care of Tobago, along with my two parliamentary colleagues from Tobago East and Tobago West. And if you look at what the development that is taking place in Tobago now, and the purpose for which it is being done, we are, right now, yesterday I toured Roxborough. And there are two things in Roxborough which the people of Eastern Tobago always needed and always talked about. They're being done now. They're getting it now. There's a hospital under construction in Roxborough. So all the people of Tobago are now going to have health care, which many of them would not have imagined before. Modern equipment, the best equipment would be available in Roxborough for the people from Charlottesville, Roxborough, from Goodwood all the way up, right? They had their hospital with health care that's available anywhere else in the country. A fire station is to be opened at the end of this month, July. Right? The Roxborough, the economy of Tobago, we've been encouraging agriculture. We've given Tobago separate budgets from time to time to spend on agricultural access roads. We've made available now for Tobago the investment in a new terminal building. Unfortunately, right now, planes are not flying. Tourism is down worldwide. Our own airline has been down since March. But we expect that someday we'll come back to a situation where people visit people in large numbers. And when that comes around, there will be a new and proper and modern terminal building in Tobago, built by the efforts of this government, right? And all the programs, all the social programs that exist in Trinidad exist in Tobago, and more. So we have taken care of Tobago in a way that other parts of the country are not.
Is there more you can do, sir?
Of course there's always more.
You intend to do more?
Of course.
What are you? Let me ask you quickly. We're going for the news. Should you win the general election this season, what would be your first order priority? We still don't have an indoor sporting facility. There's so many things that we need.
Don't wait. Don't bounce off on me the responsibility of the THA. Because I remember coming to Tobago as a minister of government. All you think I just forget, you know. Right. I came to Tobago as a minister of government, and the THA officials refused to see me because they said, you don't have no role in Tobago.
They said that?
Yes.
To the Prime Minister of the country?
No, I was a minister of government. I was minister of agriculture.
Okay.
And
I'm talking prime minister.
No, wait. Minister of agriculture. I came to Tobago as minister of agriculture with the responsibility under the constitution for Trinidad and Tobago. I came to pay a courtesy visit. The THA then refused to even see me. I came here with Stanford Calendar, my parliamentary secretary, and they refused to meet with me because...
What's the reasoning?
I'm telling you. Because the THA has responsibility for Tobago, and we want to have nothing to do with you. Right? Don't interfere in our business. So don't take that position on one hand. And then on the other hand, if a sporting complex is built in Tobago by THA, why are you asking me about that? That's a THA matter.
But
the THA,
from outside.
Wait.
Yes,
the THA gets its money in block.
Yes.
There used to be a time where they used to have to identify everything that they want to do and get it approved line item wise. They've argued against that and they changed it. They get their money en block 4 times a year, and then they decide what they spend that money on. So this morning, don't try to hold me responsible for anything that the THA did or didn't do.
Okay.
We have 2 separate lines of authority, and I know my place and I know my boundary. But as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, we assist and cooperate with the THA in trying to get done what they want to do.
Very good. And if you have to cooperate by a phone call, sir, and say to them, listen, look, there's an election coming. Oh, God. Or let we at least get the indoor sporting facility. Could you say that with a conversation, with some calm, with some respectability and accommodation for the advancement of Tobago, Prime Minister?
Well, that is not for advancement of Tobago. What you talk about is expediency for an election. We don't plan Tobago's business in the context of an election. We are going to ensure that the THA, as the national resources are allocated, the same way we found money to build that facility, the new airport, the hospital and so on, I have every confidence that the MPs, as they've said, in the prioritization, working with the THA. Because at the end of the day, Brother B, there is never enough money to do everything you want to do at the same time. There's a list of priorities that you say, well, okay, I'm going to do A, I'm going to do B, I'm going to do C. And or I could be doing ABC at the same time, but DEF is going to come after. And that's how you run a country. So Tobago has got a number of things as we progress. And the one that is on the horizon now, there are 2 things on the horizon. One is this indoor sporting facility, which Tobago young people will then, when they get it, I hope use it properly, and they'll continue to contribute to national development. I was most proud when I saw so many young Tobagoans on our Olympic team. Right? And that was part of the Ministry of Sport working with the Tobago House of Assembly. So certain things are done in Tobago, certain things are done at national level. So when the national team left here with a large block of Tobagoans on board, there was progress. The next thing is a marina.
Good.
The marina is high up front, and we would have actioned the marina on the ground before, except that because of the nature of the marina, it requires certain studies to be done through the IMA before we can get a certificate of environment and clearance, so that to get the approval, because a marina, you are literally doing a little change at the coastline. And because we have an EMA which has law on its side asking for certain information which you can only gather over rainy season, dry season, and so on. So you spend time getting that done, and hopefully you'll get the approvals to make the changes you want to make. You have to dredge, you have to bring the silt on shore, and so on. And you create new, you change the place a bit, and then you have a marina. What is good about that marina is the day we build it, Tobago can advertise itself worldwide as a place of safety during the hurricane season. And if you've been outside of Tobago, to all those islands up in the north and center of the Caribbean, where there are hundreds or thousands of boats that face the hurricane, and every hurricane season, millions or tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in equipment is lost in the hurricane. Many of those persons will want to keep their vessel in Tobago to avoid the hurricane damage. And the insurance companies will encourage that, because insurance will come down if your boat is kept in a safe place. And Tobago could market itself and bring economic activity, because once the boats come here, repairs, jobs, use of services, entertainment, and that's what you're working on.
Very good. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, we talk about some of the good things, or some of the things that you would be happy to speak about, as to release some of the tension, and we get back into the serious matters, and we deal with that. All right, so we go for morning news. When we come back, we continue with the Prime Minister, and later on, we'll take some, you will be allowed to interact with the Prime Minister via asking your calls, or we feel your calls. See you after the break.
morning, Tobago. Thank you for joining us today, Monday, July 20th, 2020, for the Rise and Shine Morning News. 5 Trinidad and Tobago nationals studying in India have been given the green light to return to the country by the Ministry of National Security. The advisory confirmed the students were granted final letters of exemption to return on Tuesday, July 21st. The ministry stated they continue to work assiduously to process requests for exemptions from nationals. Exemptions to enter the country continue to be granted in collaboration with public health experts to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 by balancing the number of persons who are returning with available state quarantine facilities. Tobago Police conducted anti-crime exercises over the weekend in several areas across the island. In Scarborough, 2 persons, Davern Small, 35 years old, and Shane Benito of St. Michael Village, Las Cuevas, arrested for littering and loitering outside the eBay supermarket on Friday. Officers attached to the K9 unit, Tobago Divisional Task Force, Traffic Department, Scarborough Police Station, and Criminal Investigations Department conducted an exercise in Lower Scarborough. They both will appear before the Scarborough Magistrates Virtual Court on Monday, July 20th. Also in Scarborough, several persons who were vending were warned of the offence of placing marketable goods for sale within 1.5-mile radius of the market under the Country Act. Persons were given the opportunity to remove their tables, which were pitched with marketable goods for sale. In the Crown Point district, officers attached to the Tobago Divisional Task Force uncovered a gun and several rounds of ammunition. Officers conducted a search under a 40-foot container situated in a bushy area where they found and seized a green and white striped plastic bag containing a revolver and 3 rounds of .38 ammunition. Investigations are continuing. 22 fully grown marijuana trees were found in Mariah on Saturday. Officers attached to the Mariah Police Station, embarking on a drug eradication exercise at Craig Hall Trace, Mariah, uprooted the 30-foot tall trees. They were subsequently destroyed. An early morning landslide along a portion of King Peter's Road forced motorists to proceed with caution on Sunday. The Tobago Emergency Management Agency reported a partially blocked road. No injuries or fatalities were reported. Today, partly cloudy at times with a few showery spells, interrupting sunny and at times breezy conditions. Nighttime will be mostly settled. Today's temperatures should reach a maximum of 32 degrees Celsius and fall to 25 degrees Celsius. Thank you for joining us for the Rise and Shine News. I am Ayana Carter. Join us at 6:30 for the full Channel 5 newscast.
Welcome back. For those of you viewing around the world, we are indeed thankful that you chose us. For those of you on Pulse 89.5 FM, we are grateful that you chose us. We do have on set the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Prime Minister, let's continue. COVID-19, you would have taken the bull by the horn on managing COVID-19, and your team, of course, Minister of Health, Mr. Dayal Singh. Presently, and we have done well, the world, everybody wants to come home. You spoke, and let's deal with that quickly. The whole question of bringing home nationals. You said everyone will come home, however, it's periodically, and not just citizens who are stranded abroad. Let's talk about that, and then there was this talk about sending monies in the case of those who would have run out of resources and so on. Take us through that.
Well, the most important thing we did was to take the virus seriously as a threat. And to do that, we had to close the border. First and foremost, remember, we closed the border to persons coming out of China who had been there less than 14 days, because that was the period in which the virus could have been with you, and then by the 14th day, you could have begun to show. So that we did that, we took that decision. And then soon after, when we realized that the virus had come out of China and was on its way across the world to us, we closed our border to non-nationals. Right? So if you were not a Trinidad and Tobago citizen, you couldn't come in for a period of time. And then finally, we closed our borders to our nationals because the virus doesn't acknowledge who nationality you are.
Exactly.
When we closed the border, that was the most important thing we had to do to protect the population of 1.3 million people inside of Trinidad and Tobago. It was a very firm action, and many countries did not do that. And as a result, they ended up having very sad stories. We decided that we will do what had to be done to protect the lives and citizens and livelihoods of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We closed the border. Once you close the border, it was understood and it was understandable that some people will be on the other side because we have a lot of citizens outside of Trinidad and Tobago, many of whom would just go on to come back. Some who are out there, living out there, but they have your passport and they can come home anytime. That figure is about 350,000 who mainly live outside. Right. They live there, their children are born there, but they can come home if they wish. Given the nature of this virus, many people outside would prefer to be in Trinidad and Tobago because our situation is better than where they are for more reasons than one. Family, expenses of living and so on, availability of healthcare, availability of... But we had to close the border. When we closed the border, a new issue arises now, not just the virus being kept out, but we had people outside to come home. We started taking the position that if you're coming in, we will have to ensure that when you come, you don't pose a threat to us. The same way we didn't allow non-nationals to come in to pose that threat. The same thing will apply to nationals if they're coming with the potential of bringing the virus. So when the first batch of people we had was some people on a cruise ship, and as you would have seen by now, cruise ships are the worst possible place to be. It's an incubator because of the confined space they live in. And when we eventually made the arrangements to bring those people in, you saw what happened. About 3/4 of them were infected by the virus. But to manage the situation, inside the country, we built an infrastructure, what we call the parallel health system, that had a certain capacity. Right? And you have different categories of people in there, those who are sick by confirmation, those who have been exposed, those who have come in and we don't know yet, so you quarantine them to see what's going to happen and so on. So you can't mix them all. So we built that infrastructure, and we did that outside of the normal health system, because COVID or no COVID, there is the need for the normal healthcare for the 1.3 million people. People are still getting sick in the normal way. So we preserved that healthcare system, and we built a parallel system with a capacity that says if we are infected, we will be able to manage it. And success is having that system which allows it to be able to deal with whatever comes. So, and we started bringing people in. Eventually we brought the cruise ship people in, we quarantined them. Fortunately we had that system in place. The ones who were infected, we took them into the health system and so on until they were able to come out and go back home. The ones who were in Barbados, once they landed in Barbados, they came under the authority of the Barbados government where the mandatory 14-day quarantine was required. They had to stay there for 14 days. At the end of that quarantine, when they proved to be negative, we brought them home. Of course, during that period, all kinds of things were said and done, but we understood what we were doing. They have now been home and they are where they are now. And we have been bringing home a stream of people. And there were different categories of people. Mostly, we gave the first option in the exemptions to persons who obviously just went out to come back. They live here. They're not living outside and want to come home because they feel to come home now. Those who went out and want to come back in, being affected by the closure, most of those persons came back in. If such persons had children, or they were elderly people who went out, or even persons who went to do medical procedures and so on, because they had appointments abroad, they went out, had the procedure, and they come back home. Some of them had to wait for a few weeks because it was all controlled by when you come home, where do we put you? We could have eased this matter up and get rid of this pressure on the government simply by saying, when you come back, go home and self-quarantine. We could have done that. But that would have... And then the government would never have had the problem of being accused of all kinds of manner of evil, of discrimination, racial discrimination, favoring your friends, favoring the ones who have money and private planes. All that would have disappeared. But if one person had gone home carrying that virus, such a person could have infected the whole country.
Wow.
And the government's position is that we will take the heat of bringing people in slowly, but it's a hotter heat if we allow people to come home and not quarantine. We have had people in quarantine, they are in the quarantine. And they make an argument, they want to go and visit their cousin, they want to go and see somebody, and we're saying, you are in quarantine. This desire to see somebody, if you are allowed to do that, the whole system breaks down. We've had people who come in, hale and hearty, they come in, not tested, not showing any symptoms. We put them in quarantine. A few days later, they test positive.
Wow.
Means that if they were let loose in the population, and some of our neighbors are now discovering that, right? So we have preserved the population from that by managing the quarantine, either the free state quarantine, or some persons had the wherewithal and the desire to come in and pay for their own quarantine ahead of the time that they would have come in, like the workers who work for oil companies.
In Mexico?
In Trinidad too. Okay. We had nationals who were working abroad in the oil industry. We brought them in. The companies brought them in, paid for the transport, brought them in, paid for them to be in. So the private sector was helping the government on that side. We had our people here who were in Guyana, in Suriname, and other places working in the oil industry. Well, we worked with those countries and those people, and eventually we brought them in. Of course, before they came in, there was a whole lot of rah-rah, but understood. It was a managed process. It remains a managed process, and we have brought in thousands of persons. We still have a few more outside, and we are bringing them in. But we bring them in on the basis that we are able to bring them in safely and quarantine them safely so that they do not pose an extraordinary threat to the population.
All right. You, the government, yourself, and the rest of the medical team would have allowed bars to reopen at 10 o'clock. However, the bar owners are still pursuing a matter in court today, wanting to go back to regular time. Give us your position on that.
There's a responsibility for the government, and there's a responsibility for others. The decision of the government is based on we said from day one, the government's decision would be guided by the advice and the science of managing this threat. If the bar owners want to go to court, that's what the courts are there for. And when matters go before the court, that's what judges are there for. And they will rule on the matter. So I'm not going to be distracted by that.
Very good. All right. The CPL, you being a cricket lover, obviously your wicket was bowled twice by a particular host on a television.
But I had a choice of hitting that ball for six or four. And I just didn't want to embarrass you.
All right, Prime Minister, let's get to this. And clearly, this has been also in the media, and it's been very, very contentious, should we say. Well, it's a topic, really. You're allowing cricketers in as opposed to citizens, and one can say it's not really, it doesn't have any, that basket can't carry any water. But I want you to respond to that. The CPL being in Trinidad, what we are supposed to earn from that are based on from an economic standpoint, and what does it bring to this country?
Well, the CPL is a sport, it's also a business. And what we have done, because we have been able to keep our country relatively healthy and free of the virus, we were able to say yes to a CPL tournament, which one is business and two is promotion of Trinidad and Tobago. We spend many tens of millions of dollars promoting ourselves to the world so that when people travel, they would know that Trinidad and Tobago is a place to go to. The CPL tournament in Trinidad and Tobago, because we are the only place having that tournament, for the first time in I don't know when, we would be the focus of the world in sport, in cricketing sport and those who follow the game. And it would be a tremendous promotion for Trinidad and Tobago. So things that we would spend tens of millions of dollars on promoting Tobago and Trinidad, we can, for about a month or more, we would be in front of the world because we have the center stage of the game.
What do we intend to do?
It's also business. The Hilton is there, relatively empty, and is not being used. We're not using our premier hotels as quarantine places for those who want to come home. So whether there was CPL or not, the rooms of the Hilton and the Hyatt and the Magdalena were not going to be used as quarantine for COVID. So to say why you could bring those people in and not bring us is a stretch, because whether we bring them or not, we were not going to use those hotels for quarantine. There are other quarantine areas that we use, and those are the ones that are in the parallel system. The CPL people would pay for the use of the hotel, not as COVID quarantine, but because they are coming to play the cricket, and because we want to maintain the health protocols, that hotel and its guests will remain in those protocols to be able to have healthy players going out to play the game and remain healthy, and two, coming in from abroad, not interacting with the public, so there's virtually zero risk to the public.
So they are basically
so they're two separate things.
So they
are
I just want to
completely separate.
All right, let's get this clear so that the public doesn't get it misunderstood. They are going to be they're going to be quote-unquote quarantined before the start of the game.
Yes, because they come in, in the first 7 days, they will only be allowed in the hotel. And they will only be in groups of 7. Right. Even in their own group, because there's about 250 or so people who would be in groups of 7. So you isolate them in groups of 7. After 7 days, that's what 7 come in. After 7 days, they'll be tested. If they still remain negative, remember, even before they come in, they will have to be tested and prove negative by the test to come in. That's the first ring fencing. So they come in tested negative. Then they come in and stay in the hotel for a 7-day period. Then they tested at the 7th day. If at the 7th day they are negative still, then they're allowed to mix and to come out and to go and play. And then they move between the hotel and the cricketing facilities, and therefore they pose no threat to the population. If by the time September comes around, our system is such and our health level is such that we may want to consider even using the stadium in a particular kind of way, in a reduced number of people in the stadium, that's a possibility, because that is what we, the health officers will assist us in that. But for the moment, we are talking about them playing in front of an empty stadium. But I don't know what the position will be in September, right? And as I told you all earlier on, the government has been adjusting its position from the start to wherever. Look at the same thing with the bars. We had the bars shut down very early because they were a focus and a magnet for the environment that the virus loved. Caused some pain, caused some costs, and so on, but we had to do that. Then we brought them back out and we said, okay, let's have our bars open till 10 o'clock. And immediately, they started creating an environment. The bar became an environment that people just felt that, well, they will just free up, and the virus loves that. So we had to reduce the numbers back to 8 o'clock. We watched it for a few days, watched it, the numbers were quite helpful to us. We went back to 10 o'clock and we'll be watching it. And if the same thing happens again at bars, where bars become a focus, a focal point for the virus to spread, we are going to shut them down again if we have to, because the government's responsibility is to protect the health and the livelihood of the general population. And anything that threatens that, the government will act. And I expect that the bars will be used, bar owners will cooperate, patrons will cooperate, and they'll be able to recreate at bars without having the government to act again. And of course, we're hoping to get to a point sometime where there'll be no restrictions at all on the use of the bars.
Okay, fine. Prime Minister, we go for another break, and when we come back, we touch on, we are in the national issues, and we touch, and then we allow for the calls. Petrotrin and the reopening of Petrotrin, or the approach by the government, a touchy one, obviously, and so might get you a little nervous, I don't know. But anyway, we go for a break. When we come back, we continue with our Prime Minister. See you then.
Renting a vehicle? Come to Save-A-Lot. We have a wide variety of fuel-efficient cars and SUVs at the most affordable prices. Save-A-Lot has been providing Trinidad and Tobago with reliable rentals to meet a variety of transportation needs. From one-day rentals to short-term leasing, let Save-A-Lot get you behind the wheel of a vehicle quickly and affordably, saving you time and money.
We building bridges through space and time, filling the gaps in our hearts and our minds with love. I need you in my life, yeah. Together, hey, and together we'll arrive. Together forever and ever as one.
Hi, welcome to the
Division of Education,
Innovation and Energy
e-learning program.
Every Monday and Wednesday at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. right here on Tobago Channel 5.
Look out for COVID-19 related scams. Be alert. Fraudsters are using the fear of economic conditions related to COVID-19 to target victims by posing as reputable agencies. Be on the alert. Ask questions. Be aware. Never share your personal information via phone, text, email, or social media. Always contact the agencies directly to verify information.
Don't lose your hard-earned money. Think before you invest. Beat investment fraud.
If I was asked what makes Tobago unique, I would have to say it's people.
And you have to understand that you could play better than him, so you feel you could do what you want. And in my case, go and do what you want.
If you are from the village, they call you teacher with your first name. But we who came from outside, they didn't know our first names.
Using $300 from this $1,000. And we were able to drum up $63,000 to do the trial event.
Trade, you have to have a trade. Mine is a shoemaker. Can you imagine them making shoes right now?
Community Legends, only on Tobago Channel 5. All right, welcome back. As we continue our conversation later on, we will have an upstairs. You guys will tell me when we're ready for the calls. And of course, we continue with the Prime Minister. All right, we touch on a number of issues. And there's this one that a decision that you made, Mr. Prime Minister, that was very unpopular in the country. And you bite the bullet. You said, look, we are shutting down Petrotrin because it's draining the economy of this country. And now there is this talk of Petrotrin returning. I want you to explain to the public what the plan is. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Well, the Petrotrin situation was one where the government didn't have a choice but to do something about Petrotrin. Other governments had choices and they used it. The choice was to ignore the problem. But in August of 2019, I just happened to have been the Prime Minister. My government would have been in office at that time. In August of 2019, the country, through Petrotrin, had a requirement to pay a debt of $850 million US. This was debt that was accumulated by Petrotrin and required to be discharged by a bullet payment, meaning a check, one payment of $850 million US. So any government that was in office at that time could not have ignored that. Others ignored it because somebody else will deal it in the future. That somebody else happened to be me and the government that I led. If it was not dealt with properly, it would have had disastrous consequences for the entire country because Petrotrin had no means of servicing that debt. So we had from day one to focus on that so that when the day come for that payment to be made, or that loan to be refinanced, we had to be able to do it. Petrotrin, as you know it, you talk about close down Petrotrin, we don't talk about that. We talk about restructuring Petrotrin. The Petrotrin that you knew before we restructured it could not go to any bank and get that loan refinanced because their business was too bad. The only way they could have looked to save themselves and the country from that situation was coming to the Minister of Finance for the money. The Minister of Finance did not have that money. And if we had to find it, the whole country would have been downgraded, right? What we did, we restructured Petrotrin to put the restructured company in a position to service the debt. And that is what has been done successfully. In restructuring Petrotrin, we created Heritage, whose job it is to look for oil, find oil, sell oil, and make a profit. And in the first year, Heritage moved this country from losing $2 billion a year in the Petrotrin arrangement to making a profit of over $1 billion, after it would have paid significant hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, which the old Petrotrin would not have paid. Right? Because Petrotrin was not even in a position to pay taxes to the government and royalties. They were using up all the money that they were making in servicing what was that company. But the restructuring fixed all of that. The Minister of Finance gets his taxes and royalties from the company, and after paying all of that, the company now makes a profit of $1 billion. So that's a cap of $3 billion. And also, the reason why Petrotrin would not have been able to go to a bank and service its debt is because the company was carrying a debt on its books of $6 billion. So those who say leave it just so, even if this government wanted to leave it so, we could not have, because a day of reckoning had come under this government. Unfortunately, there was a government in office who knew how to do it and how to get it done. We didn't please everybody, but the country is much better off for it. It took us a year and a half to prepare. So when we went to the banks to refinance that loan, it was successfully done. And I want to thank the board of Petrotrin, particularly the chairman, Mr. Espinay, and the chairman of the unit trust, the managing director of the unit trust, right, Nigel Edwards. We asked the unit trust to lend him to us to work on the board, and there was a member from Tobago on the board, and that board of Petrotrin, they are the ones who did what had to be done under the government's guidance. And what we did, we closed the refinery, because it was the refinery's operations that was the main drag on the company. And the best outlook for the refinery going forward, the best, it could have been worse, but the best outlook going forward, the best projections, was that the refinery operations would have been losing a minimum of $2 billion a year. So we had to stop that.
Very good.
And that's what we did.
Presently, Heritage has taken over Petrotrin in terms of...
No. Heritage is a subsidiary of Petrotrin. Petrotrin is the parent company still, but it has a subsidiary called Heritage and one called Paria.
So both combined is ensuring that it earns taxes derived
and service the debt.
But talk to us how the government benefits from what is the arrangement now.
Well, the new operations in the oil industry, the Trinidad and Tobago's government operation in the oil industry is now profitable to the country, because the company that is handling the oil is selling the oil at a profit and is paying taxes.
Very good.
So that must be a better situation than having a company that is costing you money. You know, the Petrotrin refinery did not have oil to refine on the scale it wanted to refine. What they were refining largely was oil that they were importing from abroad, buying it from other people, refining it, and losing up to $7 a barrel sometimes on every barrel that you import. So it was a guaranteed money loser. That loss was being borne by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Wow. So there was an operation of an oil company. Oil company, yes, fine, great. But you were importing 120,000 barrels of oil, refining it in your refinery, and losing money on every barrel. We had to stop that because in this situation that this government existed from 2015 to now, we started off in a situation because of the fall of the prices outside of methanol and oil and gas. In our first year to service this company's needs, we had $20 billion less than the previous year before the elections because of the fall of prices outside. So we had to manage the country with $20 billion less. But interestingly enough, it is during that period that Tobago will get its 2 new ferries.
Very good. Well, we'll come into that. I just want to get quickly. Shamfa Kajud said prudent management and leadership on your part. The IMF is now staring down the very evil stare at the government of Barbados. You were able to guide us away from that. Taxation in this country, you said last night that we don't pay any property tax. What is the intent by the government to have revenue earning as far as taxation is concerned? The gas is doing it, we are earning from that. However, approach, should you win the general election 2020, is there an intent to bring back property tax or to have maybe return to the old one and then eventually talk to us from that?
The law as it exists now, the matter is in the court. The matter of property tax is in the court. You may recall when we sought to put the new tax in place, land and building taxes, it's called property tax. We always had that.
Yes.
I keep saying I was paying that since I was 17 years old when I inherited my grandfather's property. It was called land and building tax, but because it applied to other properties, it was called generally property tax. What happened? Up to 2009, that tax was being collected. 2010, for political expediency, right? The government of the day gave an amnesty to that tax for the entire period while they were in office. But the last year when they were leaving, they ended the amnesty. Right? So that means the law kicks in again. What used to happen in 2009 kicks in again in 2016. But in the interim, when we tried to have it kick in 2016, even though they are the ones who ended the amnesty legally and said, okay, it will kick in, because they lost the election, right? They now go to court and is fighting in the court to prevent the law from being operated. People had lined up to pay their property tax, you remember that?
Yes.
And while people were in the line trying to pay their tax, the UNC went to court and started to have the matter in the court, and the matter is in the court. So I don't know when it's going to be completed in the court, because we don't control the court, we don't influence the court, we are subject to the court. And when the court rules, we always live by the ruling of the court.
Very good. All right, let's go to Watson's famous swim to Trinidad and in protest.
It wasn't a swim, it was a jog. he was jogged by a boat.
Wait. No, that protest was as a result of the crisis on the sea bridge. You went on the platform and said, we complain the ferry. However, you have done something about it. You've gone to Australia and you purchased 2 spanking new vessels. When is the APT James supposed to be here in Trinidad and Tobago?
The latest figure I have is sometime, well, you know, these things change because out there, they too are affected by delays, suppliers delays and so on. But the last figure I had was sometime towards the end of August, but it may be delayed based on, but it's completed. The APT James is being outfitted, meaning that the insides of it, you know, putting in whatever goes inside. But the vessel has been built. I'm sure you've seen a picture of it, and I hope you like it. It is a purpose-built, world-class item built, and I want to thank Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull of Australia for moving with dispatch in response to a request from the government of Trinidad and Tobago to help us do this. Because without the Australian help, because money is in such short supply here in the country now, and our means are such, that help from the Australians to purchase those 4 vessels actually, 2 ferries for the inter-island service and 2 offshore vessels for the Coast Guard. Well, we have been told, or we have officially been informed, that there will be delays on the Coast Guard vessels because of the COVID intervention at the yards where they are built. We understand that, and we are hoping that sometime we can give you an update on that. But the APT James is being readied for
August and
for completion. So if it's finished by the end of August, and then it begins to move to Trinidad, it will take a little while to sail here, and we'll watch it on the way. And the other one, the Buku Reef, is a little further back in its construction, but the work is proceeding apace on that as well.
Very good.
And that is due here sometime, I would say, before the COVID effect. It should have been December. With the COVID effect and the delays that may happen, it looks like probably early next year. But the important thing is that the commitment and the payments and the action, the two vessels are there, committed, and they will be here in the not too distant future.
Prime Minister, let's go to the issue of crime in this country. We spoke to the Attorney General on crime. There are a number of issues surrounding crime. Very recently, the shooting of three individuals in the Mova area led to a protest. Immediately after that, you set up a committee to treat with those people in, quote-unquote, those depressed areas. You talk about the progress that they're making. Why was that initiative done during that time, and why not before? What was the vision? What was the thinking behind that?
Well, you know, problems evolve. Eh? That problem was not a new problem, but it attracted our attention before. We would respond to it in a certain way, and you would be living with a certain kind of result and wanting to do better, and then you get an upsurge. It's like, you know, if you get a little pain on your shoulder, you might be living with it, you might rub it with something that give you a little relief and you live with it, but then one day you can't raise your arm, you have to go to the doctor. Right. And then if you go to the doctor, and the doctor sees that a nerve is pinched or is in serious trouble, he might even recommend surgery. So that's how it goes. The Laventille problem is not only Laventille alone, it's in areas of deprivation around the country, where young people, largely Afro-Trinidadian communities and their young males, are finding themselves in a situation of desperation or being misguided and or being guided by the criminal element who have to recruit people to carry on their business. And the next thing you know, communities fall under the oppression of these circumstances. And what we have done is to put people who have skills and experience in these matters to come up with an action plan for us to more purposefully direct resources to these people, because these people need resources to be able to get out of where they are with a certain amount of willingness on their part and a certain amount of encouragement. And that is what the government is doing to see whether we can. They were getting resources before. When I became Prime Minister, in responding to this problem, one of the first things I did was provide $30 million to what we call the Laventille Initiative.
What was that about?
We took 25 schools in Laventille. In and around, there are 25 schools in that Laventille area. 5 secondary schools and 20 primary schools. And we decided to focus on the young people at school age, to try to inculcate into them a new standard, a new behavior, a new alertness, and to bring the parents in by bringing the parents with the children. So if you go after the children, then you connect with the parents. Exactly. So the PTAs in the schools are to become now a common ground between child and parents. And that worked fairly well. You might have heard me answering a question in the parliament when the opposition asked me what was the outcome of that expenditure and the progress. Significant progress had been made with respect to the children's behavior. Ill discipline in school had fallen considerably, absenteeism had fallen considerably, and the children were performing better in school in terms of their examination. So that's the kind of initiative. But that alone can't do it. Okay. There are people already outside of the school system who are the ones who are in those protests. And of course, the government has to focus on it, because it is not their problem and they alone. It's a national problem, because if you have that kind of problem festering, it's like a festering sore on your toe. It's only your toe. Okay. But your head can't be right if your toe is in that situation.
You hear about community leaders, Mr. Prime Minister, that really have those communities on lockdown, more or less. There is support for those community leaders, and they continue to exist because they are supported by the community themselves. What is offered to more or less a better way of life? Obviously, in those communities, you're limited in terms of space, in terms of development. Is there any plan to move some of those people out of those communities, or for maybe lands, state lands, housing, employment? Is there any plan to offer a better life for those people in those depressed areas, quote unquote?
Well, the first thing one has to do is to show those persons that other options are available that will give them a good life. Throughout this country, and for decades, the main option that we have pursued is an option of education. I think most people will agree that if you want to advance from wherever you are to wherever you want to go, you can't do that without education. And our education system has worked well for many people and it has not worked for other people. Those who agree that education is the option, you will find people working hard at that. There are others who might not believe in that and may believe that there's an entitlement for something else. Or they may have tried education and it had not worked for them in the way it's worked for other people. And because what education does, it strengthens your personality. It also allows you to develop skills which are marketable, and your behavior, even at the level of the family. So a citizen is a better citizen if that citizen takes the benefit of education. Many families in this country, like my own, I could tell you, my move from Mason Hall to wherever I've ended up and my family's present position, the public policy that did that for me was offering me an opportunity through education. There are other people who have developed skills, and when they develop that skill, they now move on to another pathway. If education is not making the contribution that it should make, either because the conditions are not right or people don't see it as their pathway, then other pathways become attractive. Unfortunately, the communities you mention and the people you mention as community leaders, the reality is they are offering people another pathway, and that pathway is known to us. It's get rich quick, get easy money, or feel that you are stereotyped and rejected. You have to eat, you have to live, you have to raise your family. These people, there's a significant input by the criminal element. We grew up understanding that, or believing that crime does not pay. In the 21st century, there are people in our society, in our country, for whom crime pays and pays very well. And other people see that and think that that's a pathway that they can prosper through. And we have to discourage them from that, and the way we try to do that is to get to the young people, steer them away from that. And that, it's not just young males, a significant amount of the young females are also distracted in that direction. And I was talking to one of the people in that group, right, I was talking to the committee when I met with them, and one of them raised the fact that we're talking about violent crime as the catalyst for the government's involvement in this way. He said, but don't forget that there's another big problem in there, and it's teenage pregnancy. That's not a violent crime, but the problem that it creates and the misdirection of people, very significant. And any intervention by the government must not only focus on the violent crime and violent behavior and the criminal element, but on this non-criminal side of it, which has a huge negative. So we're learning all the time.
All right, Prime Minister, we go for a break. When we come back, we have the lines open, and I'm sure we're going to take a sip of water.
Well, while we're here, before we go, permit me to give a shout out to my teacher, Mrs. Yates in Rockleyvale.
Yes.
I'm sure that hope she's hale and happy and hearty this morning. Healthy and happy.
She's smiling wide. And of course, the motto from Mason Hall Primary School was?
Good work or none.
All right, when we
and
come back.
That's the only motto I know and subscribe to.
Very good, all right. And good work or none. And when we come back, Sandy Bell will be smiling because that's his father's motto.
Yes.
All right, good. So when we come back, we continue the Prime Minister. You'll be allowed to take some calls. We'll allow you to make your calls. Ask your question respectfully, however, and we'll treat with that. See you after the break.
Space and time, filling the gaps in our hearts and our minds with love. Hey, I need you in my life, yeah. Together, hey, hey, and together we'll arrive. Together forever and ever as one.
At CFY Convenience Store, we stock a range of medical supplies, cosmetics, toiletries, gift items, stationery, and phone cards. Come check us out. We're now open and ready to serve you. We're located at Vending Booth 4, Scarborough General Hospital, Signal Hill. We are open from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Contact us at 239-3123 or on Facebook at CFY Tobago. CFY, convenient for you.
Look out for COVID-19 related scams. Be alert. Fraudsters are using the fear of economic conditions related to COVID-19 to target victims by posing as reputable agencies. Be on the alert. Ask questions. Be aware. Never share your personal information via phone, text, email, or social media. Always contact the agencies directly to verify information.
Don't lose your hard-earned money. Think before you invest. Beat investment fraud.
Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ, our soon and coming King. I am Minister Cassandra Powder, here to encourage you to dare to be different. Think the unthinkable, for we serve a God that has no limits, no boundaries. It's time to elevate.
High Five with Christo Gift Senior Counsel, discussing real issues, political decisions, and economic trends affecting Tobago. High Five Mondays at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Channel 5.
All right, welcome back. We do have a caller. However, the Prime Minister wants to speak to the children going out to school today.
Well, I think they've gone. It's 8:30. They're probably at school.
Yes.
I said, and I want to say it again, that I'm a little nervous. Every time we open up, you know, I'm nervous that something might go wrong. We've done all that we could to minimize the chances of things going wrong, but I'll be very happy today that for the first time since the lockdown, our children are going back to school. Those children who are going back now, they have a month to refit themselves in readiness for the exam on August 20th. And I want to wish them all the best, and their parents, I'm hoping that they provide the support and not panic them, and let's go positively and pay attention to all the health protocols for the children's sake. Because we've seen countries that brought the children back out and problems were created. We expect that we can get by without those problems because our national level of infection is relatively low. So the children should be out there relatively safely, but they need to be protected. Because children being who they are, you can't really enforce.
Yes.
Even the adults, you can't enforce physical distancing on and get them to wear a mask and so on. So they're in a fairly healthy environment, and I wish them all the best and look forward to a successful exam in the 20th of August.
Very good. All right, let's go to the lines. We do have a caller on standby. Good morning and welcome, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Yes?
Pleasant good morning to our Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley. Brother B, good morning. You know this voice.
Yes, my dear.
Mr. Prime
Good morning.
I had the pleasure of telling you thanks the first time I spoke to you. And that doesn't change. I am here again. One of it is to say thank you. You managed the country with this COVID-19 thing. Very serious. Everybody wouldn't have it perfect. It had persons that, which is unfortunate, that would have had challenges, whether it be food, whether it be bills. But I think for me, this is my opinion, the brighter picture is that we are in a country that is not as close, not nearly as close as how many hundreds of thousands are dying in other places. When you first came into power and, well, you know, the petrol train went on, I was a bit, you know, sad because it's not nice for anyone to lose their job. But listening this morning I understood why. You had a tough choice to make. And I am not politically driven. And that this is me being completely honest.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It was, last but not least, I wish you all the best for election. As to the bars and the timing where persons are making riot about, I would rather be in a safe country than you all trying to please persons, opening up for persons to go and drink in an area that can create disaster.
All right.
Right? So I am in total agreement, and I appreciate the hard effort of you all making the country completely safe. Last but not least, I wish you all the best at the election. But if our people are elect you again, Mr. Prime Minister, if you are there for another term, last but not least, I would like you to consider this thing where we act back pay, most respectfully. You'll have the ones that really have good use for it to put it back to the country. So if you are in power, if you have another term and you can squeeze it somewhere or the other, I think a lot of persons will appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And let me just caution callers. Let's make the questions direct, straight, and as short as possible, so we get in as much as possible.
Thank you for your good wishes. Thank you for your understanding.
Very good. All right, let's take another caller. We on standby there? No. Yes, let's take the call. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Brother B.
Yes.
And Honorable Prime Minister, how are you?
Fine, fine. Good morning. How are you?
Not bad at all. Well, I know you are the Prime Minister, but you are speaking to the real chairman here. And the real chairman is calling to you about, I'm not hearing the political parties and what you all are doing about disability. That's my thing.
He's in a wheelchair.
And, in the area of disability where we have, like the national policy, the UN Convention, and suppose that, we really looking for legislation which has more teeth. So I want to hear what the political parties saying about disabilities. I find I ain't nothing about that area, so I'm just calling to drop that in the mix. Thank you and all the best.
Well, maybe good news, no news is good news, but I'll tell you one thing, Trinidad and Tobago has subscribed to and all those protocols that are out of the UN and so on, we try to subscribe, and in the creating of an environment that is friendly to people with disabilities. We have been making some significant progress. As a matter of fact, last week we opened a community center in Bagatelle, very well appointed. And what pleased me most, the stage was built out of local teak, beautifully finished. And it had a ramp.
Excellent.
It was built with a ramp, so you can go up. Anybody with a disability with a wheelchair can access. I was very, very pleased. It was one of the first things. And those are the kinds of things that we are doing in all our new buildings with the elevators and so on. Even, we in the Parliament, we create the opportunity for persons with physical disabilities to move around with a significantly reduced or eliminated obstacles.
Right.
But we subscribe to all the entreaties of the international standards.
Okay, let's take another call. Good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning, Brother P.
Morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning.
Concerning the constitutional reform and the Tobago bill, one morning I heard you say that the reason for the Tobago bill not going forward is because you couldn't get the help of the support of the opposition. Right? And you don't have a constitutional majority to pass that bill. As far as it looks like right now, it don't seem like any one of the parties will get that constitutional majority. So I want to know what will be your strategy. What would you do different to get that bill passed if you get back into power?
Okay, let me rephrase what you've said. I didn't say that we couldn't get it done. That's why we didn't get it done. What I said is that for it to be done, when the time comes for a vote in the Parliament, the PNM does not have enough votes to pass it on its own. Right now, it has not been to the stage where a vote is required. It is at the stage where the bill is being worked on to create the draft bill is being worked on to create a bill that will come before the Parliament for debate and a vote. At that stage, those who are in the Parliament will be required to vote. I only want you to understand that when people say that they will give it to you, like my colleague, my friends here in Tobago saying that they want to go into Parliament to give it for government, just understand that it can only be had if at the time when it comes up for a vote, whatever they agree on, because if there's no agreement in the Joint Select Committee and we have to put in a report that's different, we know that there'll be no support. We may have to agree to accept something a little less so as to get the support. The PNM can only speak to and about the PNM votes. But because we are leading as government in the Parliament, we will take it to the Parliament eventually, and we expect that others will take their stand on what Tobago should get. Finally, let us understand that unless the PNM opponents in the Parliament, some of them, because not all the votes you need, but they vote as a bloc, unless some of them agree with what the PNM wants to do, this process will remain elusive.
Wow.
Because with 23 votes, you cannot change certain sections of the Constitution. You need a larger number of votes. Okay. So if Tobago gives, the 2 Tobago seats can be in there, but if there's a larger number of seats from Trinidad in the Parliament, which are not prepared to cooperate with what Tobago wants to do, it will remain a contentious matter which will not be dispensed with. We are hoping that the work of the Joint Select Committee, which is where we all meet, and we all want Tobago to advance, and we all want Tobago to have more autonomy. But I want to say something to Tobago, you know. It's not the be-all and end-all. You do have significant autonomy now. Try and make the most of that. That strengthens the case for further advancement.
Okay. All right. Let's take another call. Good morning and welcome.
Pleasant good morning, Brother V. How are you?
Morning, I'm good.
I am sitting in Easterfield Road having a drink of Bacano Bush tea. And it fills my heart with immeasurable amounts of joy and optimism to hear the Honorable Prime Minister speak about our country in such a progressive manner in the midst of all that has taken place. I would like to commend the Prime Minister from a qualitative and from a quantitative standpoint for displaying immeasurable amounts of leadership. And with that being said, and the Prime Minister also identifying the areas of responsibility under the Tobago House of Assembly and a cohesive relationship with central government. The question to the Honorable Prime Minister is, where does he envision Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago by extension, but in this case, Tobago, 5 years from now?
Well, 5 years from now, I hope that this virus would be behind us for at least 3 years, and that the scars that it would have left us with would have healed, that tourism would become a business again in the region and the world, that we would have our new facilities, and that we would have a stronger presence as a venue. 5 years from now, I hope that there will be a major marina in Tobago, attracting, particularly in the winter season, large numbers of vessels, small pleasure craft. And we'll have an industry of craft repair at Cove. Our local teak, we can market that as an exotic item for those vessels, providing that the insurance business would grow in Tobago. I am hoping that when the new ferries come, that they will operate with a greater involvement of Tobagonians. So rather they come to Tobago from Trinidad, that they could come to Trinidad from Tobago. Good. And we want the THA to take some more responsibility in that, because the last time when this matter came before the Parliament, we had an unfortunate development where a parliamentary committee came to Tobago to inquire into the difficulties that we were all facing, and the THA took the position that we're not interested, we're not in that, because we don't. It's not our business to hire our charter ferries. I think we can improve on that by Tobago taking more responsibility. I expect, and I'm positive, that in 5 years' time, Tobago's agricultural footprint would be larger in Tobago and Trinidad, because we are working assiduously. We're taking a lot of steps now to encourage agricultural activity in Tobago. Tobago has a lot of attributes that should allow it to be a greater producer of agricultural products. Agricultural products have a market in Trinidad and in Tobago, and I'm seeing improvements there. We are investing in the access roads, we are making funds available, and the whole question of the experience of COVID would have driven home to us that we need to have greater control of our food supply, and we're working on that. And of course, I expect that Tobago's young people will play a huge role in that e-economy that I'm pushing. In a year to 2 years, we are moving Tobago and Trinidad into what we call an e-economy, based on having every citizen identified with a unique identifier on the national system. So whether you're unemployed, you're employed, you're on a social service system, you will be known to and we talk about digitization early on in the AG office, which has been done. We hope to do that for the whole public service and generate a digital governance system, right? And so you will not have the impediments that you have now, because you can't have the data that you're supposed to have on our young people who are okra with the technology. They will be the driving force in 5 years' time in the new Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, let's go. Let's take another call. We think this is from New York. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Brother B. I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Welcome, my brother.
I want to be short. I just want to thank our Prime Minister for the tremendous job he has done on this COVID thing. And with the upcoming election, I wish you lots of luck, sir. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Are you coming home to vote? Because I'm accused of bringing home my supporters to vote, you know.
Yes. While we wait. You said you're a proud black man, Prime Minister. You said that you're a proud black man. You were referred to as the black man on the other side. Well, just a quick response.
Some people have difficulty with that word, you know. I never had any difficulty with it. You know, black people, you know, have had this problem for a very long time. Earlier in the year, I went to Ghana, and for the second time I was able to visit the Cape Coast and the place where black people were shipped out of Africa, you know, as property. You know, they were handled like animals. And laws were passed in the Western world where you were not even regarded as a full human being. Only recently in the United States, a few tens of years ago, that a human being, it took about 3 or 4 black people to be equivalent to one white person. Even today, right? You are in certain countries, and because of the color of your skin, you can be treated in such a way that your life could be in danger. So this is not anything new. When I was born, I looked at my skin and this was me. Yes. I can't change it. Right. The Bible says the Ethiopian cannot change his skin, nor the leopard his spot. So why am I to think that there's something different for me? And I can tell you, I have always been a person who I'm proud of who I am, and I try to be better for myself and for others, my family and my community. And that hasn't changed in or out of politics.
Very good. All right, let's take another call. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning to the host of 95.105, Channel 105.
This is Tobago Channel 5, ma'am.
Huh?
Tobago Channel 5.
Channel 5.
Good morning.
Host, I'm trying to remember your name, but I hope you wouldn't be offended if I say Brother B.
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning.
Yes.
Congratulations to our Prime Minister and to all his members of the team who have thought and fought so much to keep us healthy and to prevent this virus from spreading in Trinidad and Tobago more than what it is. And I also would like to thank all the ambulance drivers, the cooks, the maids, all these nurses, doctors, everybody, CAFA, everybody who took part in it. And Dr. Rowley, Prime Minister, you are doing an excellent job.
Thank you very much.
Doing what you have to do. And as my mother used to say, I wish you Godspeed. I don't know how she used to say, but the word Godspeed is the last word she will tell anybody. No turning back, Prime Minister. You are Prime Minister now, and for whenever time, Godspeed with you and your members of your cabinet and the government.
Thank you very much. And I want to take the opportunity to thank our National Healthcare that cadre of people, and particularly here in Tobago. I've had the opportunity to go into the hospital in the last few months. My brother was there for a while before he passed away. And I must tell you, it was a pleasure going there and interacting with the staff, you know, at the level on the wards, because they were, I saw the morale, they're doing a good job, and you know, every now and then something doesn't go right or appear not to have gone right, and we tend to act in condemnation. What this virus has done to us here in Trinidad and Tobago, hopefully, is to alert us to the fact that we do have a healthcare system in this country that is better than we were giving them credit for. You know, the people I dealt with in the United States during the early part of this, I was talking to a lot of doctors in the United States and telling them what we were doing, and they were telling us what they were doing and what they were seeing. And this question was coming to me all the time from out there. Where did you all get those people from? Because some of them thought we brought in people, you know. Yeah. Because our technical people, our doctors, Dr. Parasam and his team, and all those people that come there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Dr. Richards and all those people, these are part of our daily healthcare supply. And before COVID, they were treated as if they were there. The healthcare was the worst in the world, the hospitals were the worst in the world, and then this thing happened once in a century. And we had to call upon them, and did they ever step up? Unfortunately for me, I have had this situation before. It was my job, dealing with volcanoes and civil defense. And I used to have to advise governments as to what decision they are exposed to taking to save the lives of their communities. And so I saw it from a different point of view. Scientists talking to governors and prime ministers in the Caribbean on active volcanoes. So it allowed me to be able to give our scientists, our doctors here, the respect that they deserve, and to use the science to make the decisions. And that is what put Trinidad and Tobago in this position. It wasn't the sun and the weather. It was a good investment in the people in the health sector, and that willingness to use their advice and to pay the price. Because the lady just spoke about how grateful we are, but a huge price has been paid financially and socially to put us in this position, and we mustn't squander it.
Excellent. Let's take another caller. We have a few more minutes, and we are doing, obviously, we're going to 9 this morning, and of course the Prime Minister is willing to take your calls, and we are taking one now. Let's take this call. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Brother B. Good morning. Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
My Prime Minister, let me say that openly. Brother B.
Speak up a little bit.
Well, you're hearing me better now, Brother B?
Yes, morning, sir.
Right. Well, I know the Prime Minister is spending the morning in cup of tea this morning. So we're giving him some good tea this morning.
Well, no, I won't let you.
Yes. So let me say this. As I said to the Prime Minister, I was very fortunate to be at the UN General Assembly last September. And to me, it was one of the proudest moments in my life to have been at NASDAQ with the Prime Minister and at the UN General Assembly to see the statesman-like behavior of our Prime Minister. You know, when you're home, you could say things and see the difference in people. But when you're out there and you're really seeing them performing at their optimum, then you know the class of the human being that we're dealing with. Honorable Prime Minister, as I said to you out there, I am very proud of you. I was very proud of you then. I am still very proud of you now. And I'm going to be even more proud of you after September the 10th.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And just to let you know, Cup of Tea is the radio version or continuation, more or less, of, but it's called Cup of Tea, where we have bush tea. And what is your favorite bush tea?
Kokalika.
Kokalika, man. Okay, you know Kokalika. And for those of you who know Kokalika grows when rainfall, it springs up on fresh piece of lands, just like the real Baji bush and so on. Right, Kokalika, right, good. You know tasting tea. Let's go. Let's take a call. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning again.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Prime Minister, as you are here, I can only talk to you. As to we have been noticing that, or I have been noticing, as a young person growing up, I was never into listening because of the kind of things that, you never had proper explanation as to politics, so I was never into young growing up, right? When I see my Prime Minister standing in front cameras, making speech without a paper, that draw my attention. So I'm like, yeah, this gentleman knows, because Mr. Prime Minister, I admire you that you can stand and speak without a paper, word to word, from your head. You got my attention. It means you know what you're doing. And I want somebody who knows what they're doing with my future. Next, with the campaigning, you are hearing on both sides or different sides, persons insulting each other and that kind of stuff. You should, or I'm just saying that with proper leadership should not you, but others, making other statements in let us be respectful. There are young persons watching, so you should, reinforce that. There are young persons watching. There are children who we teach to communicate, not fight against each other. So we can do politics, but keep it clean.
All right. Kola, sorry about that. But, yeah. So she's really commending you. Obviously, you go on platforms without a paper. Where last night you had to read something and so on. But anyway, let's take another call. And so she's commending you. All right, let's take another call. Good morning and welcome. Kola,
good
make
morning,
it
Mr.
Yes.
Minister.
Make it short, straight to the point.
Yeah. I thank you for guiding the world in a proper direction to treat with this pandemic. And at the same time, I want you to put more energy in guiding us about how we go about taking our fluids or alcohol and the things that, we like to enjoy. I'd like you to set some pattern or approach how people should go about doing this, because
Well, I would say, all things in moderation. Alcohol is deemed to be a drug, and it also is dangerous. It has some serious negative fine. I take a drink once in a while. I don't overdo it, but I enjoy a drink. I enjoy the socialization at a bar. So these are societal things that we have come to accept. Some people are resolute that it is even religiously wrong. Alcohol is created in your body in a variety of ways, but whatever you do in moderation. I recently, my daughter was going through a pregnancy, and I was impressed at, well, she isn't a drinker, but she may from time to time have a sip of wine or so, and during the pregnancy she will have none of it. She would have none of it because she was concerned about the fact that it is known to have effects on unborn children. So it calls for discipline, and we have to be disciplined in what we do and just do all things in moderation, all
Very
things.
Good. All right, let's take 2 more calls and we allow the Prime Minister to wrap. Let's take your call. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, welcome.
Good morning.
I just want to say how proud I am of my Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley. And we are 3rd generation of PNM, so that's how proud we are.
Well, I'm sure I know your grandmother or your grandfather.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for paying attention, and I want to encourage the young people to take part. It's your future. Those of us who are in authority now and have to make decisions, we're making those decisions about your future. And one of the things that you must do is accept some responsibility. You have to accept some responsibility. And voting is a major responsibility. Be aware of what is going on in the country. There are always options. Choose a good option. Be responsible. Participate in the election. Come out and vote. Young people in Tobago, come forward and take responsibility for your future.
Very good. And we take last call and we allow you to wrap, Prime Minister. Let's say this call. Good morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning to our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley.
Good morning.
Just calling to congratulate you. You did an awesome job with the COVID. You did well. Call to say we love you. I love you very much. And you have my vote.
Thank you very much. I love you too.
All right.
I'm working for you.
Right. Prime Minister, we are facing an election, obviously. The 2 seats in Tobago are contested by the PDP. I just want a perspective as to how you feel. Do you feel confident in both seats be returning to the PNM?
Yes, I'm very confident because I place my trust in the good sense of the average Tobagonian. It's an election. Some people will have reasons to want to vote for somebody else, and that's the process. We as a people, as a country, we have free and fair elections. People offer themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. I am not against anybody, you know, thinking that they should be selected and they go through the process. But what I want to do is to make sure that as people make their decisions, that they have the information, so if they make a bad decision, they can't say, I didn't know. They must be able to say, I knew, and with my eyes wide open, I chose this option. And I think when they do that, the PNM would be the option that would be chosen by the majority of Tobagonians. And that's why I am, you know, the same way people call in this morning and say they're proud of me, I am proud of Tobagonians. I am proud of Tobagonians, and I lead this country, and I know that I do the best for the country and by extension for the people of Tobago. And we have done nothing which I think should be held against us. On the contrary, we've done a lot that we should be supported to continue for the development of Trinidad and Tobago, and particularly for Tobago people and the economy of Tobago. And give them the chance to continue. We will make the changes that will keep incrementally improving Tobago and adding to Tobago's quality of life.
All right, election day, what do you want to advise the public to do? Ensure that they, you know, observe the protocols. What would be in place from a government standpoint?
Well, as you come out of the house, you need to, if you've been doing that, because it's optional, and we hope that you've been doing it, have a mask if you come out of the house. If you choose not to do it, we're not enforcing it, but we're encouraging you. When you get to the polling station, you will see the EBC has arrangements for you not to be too close to the person in front or behind you. So that is not going to be a big problem. The pace at which you'll be processed would be the same, but in standing in line while you wait, just stand a little away from people, because that is the whole idea. Come back to the origin of the problem. You don't want to share the virus from one person to the other. So we take the position, we assume that somebody's carrying the virus, or you're carrying the virus, and then you don't want to share it. That's what the mask is for. But we expect that the process would be very normal, except for that protocol. And then, of course, if you are going to celebrate after, if you are with the PNM and celebrating the victory, as I expect you would be, in that celebration, remember not to get too close to people. Give a little space to the people around you. And of course, if you're wearing a mask, you'll be better off for it. But we are in a very difficult period. This period, economic difficulty in the world outside, the world market. I mean, the price of oil had gone down to a point where they were paying people to take oil instead of selling it. That happened in
Where is it now, though?
It's at about $40 a barrel. It's been hovering around 40. So we've been getting, the top price is about 40, 41, and we get about $2 below that, and we get which is above the WTI index that we normally use. So we imagine we saying that $40 is a good price. But it's good as compared to where it was. But it was at 130. Right?
Very good. All right. Prime Minister, it's indeed a pleasure. It was indeed a pleasure. And we want to thank you very much for allowing us this time. And of course, we want to wish you all the best as you navigate through this time of, you know, the COVID-19, and all the best to you and your cabinet.
Well, thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak and interact with Tobagonians. And all I can say to you, Tobago, come out and vote. Come out and vote. And vote wisely, right? Take part in the process.
All right. Good. Okay, we want to thank you for viewing, and for those of you listening on Pulse 89.5, of course, we'd have used up all the time for a cup of tea. Of course, he said Kokalika is his favorite tea. For those of you who
with milk, with milk.
With milk, yeah.
With fresh cow's milk.
Okay. All right. Well,
or if not, if you don't have that, condensed milk.
All right, I like the coconut tea.
I like the taste and the aroma.
Milk, without milk.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Yes, I mean, but I prefer to with a bit of
all right, good. All right, we go over that. All right, good. So we want to thank you again. Hey, we'll do this again tomorrow. On behalf of the entire team, we want to thank you for viewing Rise and Shine. We'll do this again. Embrace the urgency of today, for tomorrow is a mystery. But I'll be saying so long.
Thank you.
Yes, good.